I'm excited to bring you a brand new tutorial today. We're going to be making a stuffed pumpkin, and it's super easy, at least in my opinion. It's super easy. You can use any yarn that you like. The yarn that I'm using today is from the Alpaca Warehouse. I don't have the numbers on it because they don't have names. They only have numbers assigned to them. This one is an orange, or some people might see it more as a yellow orange, but it happened to be the only orange I had, and that's why I'm using it. But it's terribly lightweight, which I don't like about it. I wish that it were a heavier yarn, but when I purchased it, I had no way to tell. All I was going on was pictures. And so the other color that I have is a brown and black twisted together. We're going to start with the orange yarn. So whatever orange yarn you have, just make sure that your hook matches the yarn size. So for today, I'm using this G hook. I could go smaller and use a C or a D hook, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with the G because that's what I used when I made the sample. We're going to start with a magic loop or magic ring, whichever you want to call it. We're going to chain one to secure that, and then work 10 single crochets into the loop. Okay, now that we have the 10 single crochets, let's go ahead and pull that tail, close up that little loop, and we're going to join to the beginning single crochet just with a slip stitch. So go ahead and insert your hook, then yarn over and pull through and through. Okay, go ahead and tighten up that hole. Alright, the next step is to do 2 single crochets into each stitch around for a grand total of 20 single crochets. Alright, so chain up 1, work 2 single crochets into that first stitch. So let me show you that again. Right into there. We're going to work 2 single crochets now. So in the end, we should have 20. 2 in the next one. There we go. 2 in the next. And so on, all the way around. Okay, join to the beginning, single crochet with a slip stitch. For the next round, we're going to chain 1 and work 2 single crochets into the very first stitch, only 1 into the next, followed by 2 into the next, and then 1, and so on. So we're going to alternate around all the way for a grand total of 30 stitches. join to the beginning, single crochet, just with a slip stitch. On round 4, we're going to chain 1 and work 1 single crochet into each stitch around, so you should still have 30 single crochets. Now that we've come around to the end, we're just going to join that round again. Or not again, but you know what I mean. Join it like we've done all the others. For rounds 5 through 10, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around like we just did, and end with a slip stitch, of course, to join the rounds, and that will give us a grand total again of 30 single crochets. So for the next 5 rounds, or actually 6 rounds, because we need to do 5 through 10. So let's go ahead and do rounds 5 through 10, and then I'll show you the next step. Now that we've made it to the end of round 10 and we have joined it with a slip stitch, I think it's a good opportunity to go ahead and use our yarn needle to close up this hole and trim that end up a little bit so I can get that in there a little bit better. Oops. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close up that hole. What I like to do is just go around that same circle and then pull it. This is the side we wove in on. What we're going to do is, as I was working, it was starting to cup, and I'm just going to take that and turn it out now, like this, so that this becomes the outside of my pumpkin. Now you could totally work this in unjoined rounds, and then you won't have this little seam. This pumpkin is just a decoration. We'll manage to hide this in the end, so the joined rounds really don't matter in this project. So for round 11, we're going to work 1 single crochet into the first 5 stitches. So let's chain 1, work a single crochet into the first 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now the next thing that we're going to do is work a single crochet decrease, and if you're not sure what that is, I'll show it to you. You're simply going to go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that is a single crochet decrease. And the reason we do that is because now our pumpkin needs to be getting smaller towards the top. So we're going to take the next 5 stitches and work a single crochet in each. And then work a decrease. For rounds 13 and 14, we're going to work a single crochet into the first 3 stitches, followed by a decrease, and repeat until we get around, and of course join the round with a slip stitch. So I'll start you off and then I'll leave you to do the rest. So chain 1, work a single crochet in the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, whoops, and then follow with a decrease. Sorry, I was going to say slip stitch, but that's not right. Single crochet decrease. Okay, the next 3 are simple single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. I'll leave you to do the rest of this round and the next round exactly the same way. So for this round and the next round, we're going to work a single crochet into 3 stitches and follow with a decrease, and repeat all the way around until you get to the beginning, and then join with a slip stitch. And I'll show you what to do next when you're finished. One more round and then we're going to stuff it. Okay, so for this round we're going to work a single crochet into the first stitch followed by a decrease. So we're going to decrease in every other. Okay, so first we'll chain 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Again, 1 single crochet and a decrease. All the way around, and then join with the slip stitch. At this point we're going to stuff the pumpkin. You can stuff it as full as you like. You can just pull this out long like that so that your crochet hook's not in the way. Just go ahead and stuff it. I like mine to be pretty full, but of course you don't want to stretch it out so much that you're seeing so much stuffing kind of poking out between the stitches either. So I'm going to stuff mine pretty full. There we go. That's probably as full as I'm going to make mine. You can make yours as full as you want. And also, you know, as we go on, you could add a little more. So that's up to you. Alright, I'm going to cinch that back up. For the next round, we're going to repeat round 15. So we're going to chain 1, do 1 single crochet followed by a decrease all the way around, and then join with a slip stitch. And at this point it might be a little difficult because now you're working with a stuffed item. So if this is too difficult, you could take some of the stuffing out and then add it back a little bit later. It's a little harder to find where you began also when you're working with a stuffed item. At this point, you're just going to pull a loop. Don't finish off with a slip stitch. We're going to add on the brown. Go ahead and finish that stitch with the brown. Now, we're going to make 3 rounds working 1 single crochet into each stitch around with the brown. So of course you're going to chain 1 and then begin working, and if you want to work across the tails to kind of go ahead and be done with those, you can certainly do that. For the final round, we're going to alternate a single crochet and a decrease again in each stitch around. So chain up 1, and if it's getting too small and too tight for you to really work with, you can go ahead and clip the tail and just weave it in and cinch it up that way, but I prefer doing it this way just because So you're going to really just have 2 single crochets and 2 decreases here in the top. And I know it's getting tight, it's getting hard to work with, but okay. So the final thing we need to do, of course, is join with a slip stitch. There we go. Alright, finally we're going to finish off by clipping a tail and weaving it in and cinching up that hole. So let's go ahead and pull that through like you normally would after you clip the tail. Let's thread up our yarn needle. And we're simply going to work in and out and close up that hole. And I know it's really hard to see because it's so dark, and I do apologize for that, but let's see if I can make it any better. Okay, there we go. So now we just need to weave in the ends, and you're just going to loosely weave in around the stalk. Alright, I'm going to call that good enough for mine. So clip that off. Okay, now we still have these tails. Let's go ahead and weave those in as well, and then I will show you the next step. The next step is to cut a long piece of orange, thread up your yarn needle, okay, now we're going to use this to make the lobes on the pumpkin. So what we're going to do then is start into the bottom and come out at the top. Anywhere at the top is okay. I want to start up the seam. So the seam is here. You might not be able to see it as well since it's stuffed, but it is there. So let's come out at the top of that seam. But what we're going to do then is leave a tail that we can weave in later. So leave plenty enough to weave in. Now bring the string down the side and go back into the bottom and come out on the opposite side at the top. Okay, and then you're gonna hang on to this tail so that you don't pull it out, and pull that tight as you like. It doesn't have to be super tight, but it needs to be tight enough to make that lobe, to make that definition. So now what we're going to do is quarter it. So this is half. Now we're going to come up on this side of the stalk or stem, pull that tight, go down and through the bottom and come up at the opposite side now. There we go. I think this is the fun part, watching it take shape. Okay, and then back through the bottom and just out the top any place is okay. I'm just going to come up where I was. Okay, pull that tight, and while it is pulled tight, let's do this. Let's take a small stitch, just like that, to kind of secure it, and then begin to weave in. Alright, so the same thing on the bottom. We're just going to weave in that remaining tail. And then I'll show you how to get started on the curly Q. We've made it to the final step. Now we get to make the cute little curly Q that you often see on pumpkins, the little spiral that dries up and lets you know the pumpkin is ready. So now with our brown, we're going to start with a simple slip knot. and we're going to chain 9. And I know that the brown is very hard to see, and I do apologize for that, but I needed brown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to work 4 single crochets into the second stitch from the hook. So not the first one, but the second. We're going to work 4 single crochets into there. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to work a slip stitch into the next stitch. Just a simple slip stitch. Work 4 single crochets into the next stitch, or the next chain. 2, 3, 4, slip stitch into the next stitch, 4 single crochets into the next chain stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, follow that with a slip stitch, okay, 4 single crochets into the next stitch, 1, whoops, I missed that completely, 2, 3, 4, and then into the last chain stitch we're going to slip stitch. Okay, so let's go ahead and clip the tail, pull that through, just like that. Okay, this is our curly Q, and you can see that it's started to turn. You can kind of twist it up on your own if it hasn't done its own spiral, but it should have at least a partial spiral there. So take your pumpkin, and then right here by the stem we're going to sew that on. So what I like to do is just double the tails, so I cut them off even. And then I'm going to take both yarn ends and thread up my yarn needle. And this can be tricky, but you can do them one at a time if you can't get them both in at the same time. There we go. And now I'm just going to secure it to the pumpkin. Just pick one. I like to pick a lobe space. And just put it on like so. You can secure it however you want to. I like to go through a couple stitches there. Whoops. I like to go through just a couple of stitches right there, and then before I cinch that up all the way, I like to go back through those loops and just pull it tight, and that way I know that it's very secure, it's not going anywhere. If you want to, you can weave in the tails a little bit around that stalk, around the stem of the pumpkin. But it's really not going anywhere since we did knot it over there by the curlicue. So we don't have to weave in the full ends or anything. So here is the final product, and you can play with it a little bit, squish it up, or if one of the lobes is bigger and you want them more equal, you can adjust these strands that we put in. You have to do it just very gently, but it can be done. But, you know, pumpkins are like people. Every single one of them is different. So if the lobes aren't equal, that's okay. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you had a lot of fun with it. Make as many pumpkins as you want. Have a complete patch. You can have big ones, you can have small ones, medium-sized ones. The sky's the limit with these things. They're a ton of fun, and I hope that you have a really good fall. Bye.